Remarkable's track record has been remarkable, from selling 1 million of their e-reader units to keeping a very simplistic lineup of devices. They've done what they've done, and they've done it well. This is the Remarkable Paper Pro Move, and it's the first time they've stepped out of the large screen bunch into a mid-range screen, featuring a 7.3 inch, and all of the remarkable capabilities you've come to expect from the brand. They're also using Gallery 3, again, making this the 5th Gallery 3 enabled device in the industry after the Pocketbook, Sharp, Good eReader bigme, and the Remarkable Paper Pro itself. Let's dive in and check it out. So looking at the unit's body construction, it is completely unlike any other single device we have ever seen in the e-reader world. We'll show some comparisons along the way. The body is built out of this completely enclosed aluminum block with these very nice lengthwise lines. It's very gorgeously crafted with almost a little bit of a hint of this pocket watch bronze mixed in there. You have these rubber stoppers on all 4 corners so that when you put it down, it doesn't move around. It's just so writing centric. You have the snap for the pen on the side, and unfortunately it is using a proprietary pen. We'll get into that when we get into the pen section. You have a power button up top, nothing on the left side, and the USB-C on the bottom. The screen is very flush with the surface, although there is a little bit of a gap, but not too much, seeing that it does have a front light. There's no soft touch buttons on the side or anything else, so it is pretty much as streamlined, compact, and simplistic as you can possibly get. Now for the upside and the downside at the same time. The pen. The problem with this pen is not the pen itself, it's what the pen represents, we'll say. For example, if you had any other device in the market, you can use the Kindle pen, you can use the Pocketbook Color pen, or guess what? You can use any pen on the market. Pilot, Stadler, Lamy, Remarkable 2, anything. Unfortunately, with the Paper Pro and the Paper Pro Move, you can only use this pen. And why I say that's a downside is because you are now bound by this pen, you're bound by the tips, and you're bound by the fact that if you lose this pen, you'll never be able to use any other pen on here. You have to buy this again. And no, you can't use anything there's no crossover between like an Apple Pencil or a Surface Pencil or a Samsung Protocol. They all have different connectivities. They just don't work. So although the pen itself is beautifully crafted, it looks great, it feels good, it's got this rubberized coating on it, the tips are awesome, the eraser pushes in, and it all feels at least number 2 or 3 in the world of realism when it comes to pen on paper. You are they're shooting themselves in the foot just a little bit with this pen, but you snap it to the side and man, look at that magnet. That's a good magnet. It's not falling off with ease like some manufacturers. That is definitely stuck right on there. And the final thing is that unfortunately you got to charge this pen. I'm a big fan of these type of home screens where you don't really have a home screen. You can't go back any further than this. It's much like the Fujitsu that this is your home screen. Now, it's very easy to understand. You have your stuff in the middle. You have your top drop down, which you have the glow light. We'll show you some darkness in a little bit. It's not very strong. It's not meant to be very strong. It's just meant to be utilitarian. It's not meant to be fancy with multiple sources of light, etc. Then you have some gyroscope lock, your airplane mode, etc. And then your top left corner. We'll just show you settings really quick. We're not going to go through every single one of these. It shows there's no use of doing that. So you have language and keyboard. We are at the latest possible version, and we have English and German beta And on-screen keyboard, we have English and a bunch of different languages. That's really nice. Handwriting conversion, you can do US and a ton of different languages there. So that's really nice of them. You have your battery level, your storage, your Wi-Fi, your cloud services, and you have your display settings, visible content, rotation, reading light, extra bright, etc. You can take a screenshot of this if you want to see it. Now they do have extra bright mode, which is kind of cool. Now they didn't pioneer that. Kindle used to do that a while back. It does use more battery, but it does give just a tiny little boost more than you would originally have access to, and it's kind of nice actually. You also get some accessibility like portrait, landscape, toolbar position, left and right hand, large font, etc., and then some regulatory stuff. So the settings are very streamlined. They're just really what they need to be. Now you'll notice something before we continue on is this thing is very flashy and it's not very appealing to the eyes. So we made our own gallery enabled device too, so we know this quite well. It was very hard to develop. You'll see that when you open something, it starts to flash and dither and almost go into a psychedelic kind of transition with like a tie-dyed t-shirt. What this is the Gallery 3 is not really ready yet, so it can't move from one state to another state with any sort of stability. It finds it very difficult to transition, so you get a lot of these weird flashes and you get a lot of these effects and artifacting and staining and splashes of purple and reds and dark greens as it tries to make the next step. So it really is just not quite ready for prime time. So that's just keep that in note. And they actually tell you about that when you start the unit. So we're going to tap to restart the device to finish the pen update, and then we're going to get into it. Please pause the video at any given time. You'll see that there is some release notes here. You can create a link with the connect feature, new method templates, and tags. While you're on your home screen here, you can do different things like long press on things. From here you can rename, duplicate, move, delete, and you have a more section as well. You can export it, you can archive it to the cloud, you can send it by email, favorite, and tag. Send by email it's so seamless. It is so seamless. All you would have to do is type in your email at this point in time. We're gonna look at the keyboard as well. This thing types really quick. It caught up, and the coloring of when you type is a little bit off-putting, but man, it was much faster than I thought. All you would have to do is just say, I'm going to send it to peter@goodereader.com. We're going to go into a PNG portrait, and then you send it. And it doesn't matter if you have different protocols and your send port is 995 or 60. You don't have to do any of that. You just click the email and you send it off and it'll be sent to the recipient. It is so seamless and quick, and it gives you that kind of file explorer level of functionality on this screen. Is this unit an e-reader? No, it is not. It is an e-paper tablet / e-note. It's not a tablet in the traditional sense where you get Google Play and a bunch of apps and stuff like that, so just keep note of that. Now, reading on this is not very good. It's a little bit on the gray side. It kind of matches the grayness of this, and to bring something super white in the frame just for a scale of reference, you'll see that we're a little bit off on the color wheel of the true absence of color, but it's not bad, and it is a little bit better than Kaleido. The problem is when you actually start reading it and you turn pages. For example, we're reading, we go to the next page, and that wasn't very nice. It wasn't very seamless. And as you do other things, like you go out and you go back into the book for whatever reason, you need to adjust things, it's just a very silly kind of flashy experience. So it's not quite earmarked for reading books just yet. We also have very odd justifications. For example, if we do that, things get cut off and it doesn't justify and push it in. So they give you ebooks as a pleasantry, whereas it's not meant to be the main focus of the unit. But you can take notes right out of the gates. We'll show you that in the note-taking section. And you can turn pages, all well and good. And you get some of the settings up top as well. So we have a lot of things pulled from the note-taking experience, like add a note page in line. You can enable shapes. You can do layers. A lot of this we're going to show you in the note-taking section. But pretty much for the e-reading portion of it, that's about it. You just get this kind of little bit dull, lackluster approach to the actually reading, but where this thing excels is going to be the color content, of course, and the note-taking feature. So the reading portion of it is honestly kind of a little bit of a bonus slash afterthought, although they do give you ebooks as one of the choices. I don't like this unit for reading, but I really like it for PDFs. This is great. This is what they needed. Something nice and small. I wish it was a tiny bit smaller, kind of like a bigme Highbreak or a Palma, but this is awesome. This shows colors very, very well. It really just pops with those yellows you can see. Yellows and orange traditionally on Kaleido and color e-paper devices in general are always kind of hard to produce, but this one has no problem producing it. You'll see right there. It's a little bit slow of a unit to really zoom in and stuff because, again, it's not a spec powerhouse. That's not what they're advertising, but look at those colors. This looks the closest to an actual magazine of any e-paper technology that is currently available for consumer units. Now, we all know about Spectra. E-ink Spectra 6, for example, is, I mean, you might as well be looking at a piece of paper. Oh, is this e-ink or not? You wouldn't tell because that's the point of it. But the point of Spectra is to remain in a solid state. This one is meant to change state, but it kind of bridges the gap between Kaleido and Spectra because it's extremely slow, as you see, when it comes to the navigation and the rendering and getting things to actually land on the page. It's quite poor, but once the image does develop, it is extremely high quality. These colors you won't find on Kaleido. They will not look like this. The Kaleido comparison, which we'll get into in the future video, is a very dull experience compared to this. This one is very, very nice, and you can use the pen, and you get all of your access to everything you would need from the note-taking experience over on the PDF experience as well. So there's no gripes whatsoever from a PDF perspective. Everything works really nice. You could put this in your jean pockets if you wear big enough jeans. You can put this in your side bag. It really is a really good idea to kind of squish down and elongate the remarkable experience. Also, we'll cut into this real quick because that just reminded me. It does have a G sensor, but it's an overactive G sensor. So much like the earlier Kindles when they started to introduce it, when you go past a certain degree of access, it really does just drop immediately. You do have access to this, as we showed you at the top of the hour. If you go to the top drop down, you can turn the G sensor on or off, but we're just going to leave it off so that we don't lock it and we can turn in between certain parts of the review. Let's show off some colors. Now, there is another thing that Remarkable has done that it was a balancing act, so we understand where they're coming from. Now, you'll see here that Gallery 3 is very high quality, but you might see it's just a little bit pixelated. And is that because of the screen? No. What that is they've added almost like a top coat sandpaper layer in order to give you a good pen feel. And that in and of itself is a good idea, but it comes at a detriment to the quality of the colors. So now you'll see that the colors are a little bit muted. And why that is because it has this super small layer on top, almost like you're putting a piece of wax paper on it to a lesser degree, and it's disturbing the colors beneath it. So you actually don't have the full potential of Gallery 3 shining through, all pun intended, and it's a little bit interrupted by the peaks and valleys of the top coat layer. We'll do a super zoom in so you can see it there. It's actually diffusing the image a little bit. So yes, it gives you better pen feel, but it actually mutes the colors just a little bit. Again, we have rubber stoppers at the back of the unit so that this will not move around. Man, this is easily in the top 3 of writing feels in the industry. We have a couple other prospects that are a little bit better, and also the fact that you can't use other pens really hurts this a little bit, but this feels so good. And there's really no difference between this and the Paper Pro when it comes to the top coat. It's the exact same material, etc. So you might hear a little bit different noise when you start to get to the center, because that's the furthest point away from all the sides that are physically supported. So it's going to sound a little bit different. We'll let you do a sound test, let you guys hear in a little bit, but we'll just play around with this. But otherwise, it's pretty consistent all the way through. Now, you do have a bunch of different things on your palette here. You have paintbrush, you have 9 different pens, you have 3 different thicknesses, and yes, you get pressure sensitivity, and you get 9 colors technically. Black is all the colors, and white is the absence of colors. But I really like how they have magenta, cyan, yellow, green. This is great stuff. Now, we have to mention one more thing, is that depending on what color you choose, you're going to see it be a different color before it is that color. So you'll see right there, this is a pretty glaring problem with Gallery 3, which we had on our unit as well. So right now we have blue. So as we draw, and just to accentuate this, we'll go to the biggest screen line size possible. So as you draw, you see it's rainbow, and in fact it's black right now, and right by my pen it's purple and beige, and you're like, wait a minute, I chose cyan, what's happening? The whole thing flashes, it goes into green, and then finally it's cyan. So as you color things, you have to be very patient. For example, if I do a big blotch of cyan here, it's gray and purple, and in fact beige and yellow at some point. You're like, wait, hold on a sec. Okay, so it takes about 4 seconds, 3 seconds to finally render and get into that. So you have to keep note of that, because when you do utilize the amazing potentials of the writing feel and the crispness and the tilt recognition that this has to offer, you have to know that you got to pace yourself, because you don't quite know what you're drawing until you draw it. Right now it's yellow and it crosses over, and it's black actually in the background, and then you have to wait and it'll think about what it is, and then it will land. And that yellow is different than the yellow that was in the pre-render, which is more of a beige orange, as you can see right here. So it's almost like a peach, and then it'll be yellow. So just pace yourself in that regard, because it's going to be something that you have to work with and work as it works against you. Let's try the eraser out, because this eraser is one of the best erasers. It's very grippy. It feels rubber-y. It's not quite as good as the Staedtler Germany pen that actually uses a chunk of rubber on the back, but this one's still really good. And you know what? I like how it feels different on the side than it does on the top. That's actually a level of realism that it allows you to choose how you want to erase. So you can do a flat down erase like that, and in the real world, that is going to be different than a corner erase. And again, the erasing is going to be a little bit delayed too. So as it goes like that, you'll start the countdown timer, and then you'll see what you've made. And you'd have to kick it a little bit. So you'd have to swipe or tap the top to get the artifacting to go away, so you can see what you've erased. But the eraser, from a physical standpoint, works quite nicely. Text conversion is very accurate, and you can just continue typing along as you saw right there. That's great. Now, what else can you do? You can do a bunch of things. So right here on the top right corner, if you tap that, you get typing. We showed you the keyboard. You get layers, and this is great because Remarkable basically started layers, or they pioneered it, I guess you could say. So you can just make a bunch of layers, limit of 5 layers reached, plus the template layer, which means if you're on layer 1, and you click on that, there we go, you can draw something, and then you go over here, you go to layers again, you go to layer 2, you draw something else. If you erase while you're on layer 2, it does not affect the bottom layer, which is really useful because that actually means that your stuff is safe. Now you can enable shapes as well. Once that's enabled, you will draw a square. Hold your pen there for a second and it becomes a perfect square. That's good. I would have liked to have it so that you just draw a circle haphazardly like that, and then maybe you do a double tap. A lot of those companies are doing that, but this is quite nice, and it's pretty intuitive that you would do that, and it makes as good as a square or triangle or shape as any. The circle was perfect. This one's, it dipped a little bit on the side, and this one lost a little bit on the corner. Now, it's how you draw it. If you draw it poorly like that and hold it, it's going to make the four-sided quadrilateral that might not actually be a square, but it is very nice and very easy to get the hang of it as well. You can add tags, you can search in book, and you can go page overview. This shows you all the pages you've ever done, and you can long press them if you want to select them. You can batch them, you can send a whole bunch of them, duplicate it if you want to clone the page so you don't have to draw everything all over again if you want to make edits. It's a really nice kind of table of contents overview. I think it's pulled off beautifully. You also have some notebook settings. You can see the name of it, the last visited page, the first page, how you want it to be shown when you open it up. And then you have add page, but add page can also be added by swiping and waiting for the little plus, and then you can click it and you'll go to the new page. Furthermore, you get the lasso tool, we'll call it. So make a little smiley face, click the lasso tool, lasso it around like that, and then you have free form access to move it around. You can copy it, you can slice it, you can convert the text, etc., and you can paste it on a new page. The writing feel outside of the sound is very, very nice. I think it's easily top 3 in the game. I don't think it's entirely fair for them to leverage their amazing sales tactics and their sales prowess and say it's the best, because it's not the best. If you're in our industry and it's our job to nitpick, you will see, if you check out our channel, there are far better. But there's one thing the Paper Pro will do better than any other unit, and that is tilt. This pen, this screen, this selection, and the UI approach to allowing you to do these peppering, oh my goodness, you couldn't ask. I probably couldn't do that with a real pencil. This is so nice, and it's pressure sensitive during the tilt as well, so you can tilt lightly or tilt hard, or press the top lightly or press hard. Look at that, it changes dynamically as if it were to be a real, look at that. That is so intuitive. It's so exactly what you would expect to happen if you had a piece of paper and an actual pencil. That has amazed me more than anything about these units during the latest Paper Pro line. And not only that, it works with all the colors. So if I had a yellow pencil, as we call them in Canada, pencil crayons, you'll see that it does much the same thing. And if we go to red, for example, I can do the exact same thing. The only problem with the colors is that, as we showed you, it's not the true color until it's the true color, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, but man, look at that. That is glorious. Does the remarkable Paper Pro move do enough? No, not really. It's the exact same thing as the bigger unit with less screen real estate. The pen isn't even changed. Don't get us wrong, Remarkable has one of the best sales pitches you could imagine, along with a very streamlined and concise user experience, but this unit is finding it hard to compete with the current landscape of available units like Onyx and bigme, High-Read, etc. It only does 10% of what those units can do, and despite their promotions, doesn't even feel as good as the Fujitsu Quaderno. However, much like the Fujitsu Quaderno, the Remarkable Paper Pro move is a good move for the company. It's slim, compact, built well, and essentially is just a scaled down version of the Paper Pro. So you get all of the integrations, the note-taking prowess, and the familiarity of the previous unit. As for the Gallery 3 screen, no, it's not ready for prime time and hasn't been ready for prime time, and we know that very well. But as it stands, this is a very good unit, and slashes the price to allow more people access to the Remarkable line of devices. We'll see you on the next one.